and welcome to Between Two Coaches. We're on a mission to make fitness more human, snark sold separately. I'm Coach Amanda, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host.
Coach Nick. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We are here with part 4 of our Need or Nah series, the finale. And we have two amazing guests. We have Dr. Leah Avery, and we have Winnie Lizardo. I should have asked you how to say that. Can you say your last name? Because I screwed that up.
No, you're good. Lizardo.
Oh, okay. Nailed it. It's as many syllables as I need.
Nick, have you seen your last name?
I know, but everyone gets it right. It's pretty easy. But now that we've gotten the names out, and we are going to have a great show after this. We're going to dive into all things physical therapy, recovery. We're going to talk about some fun topics, have a great time. Before we dive in, let's have our guests introduce themselves. Do you want to go ahead, Leah?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Leah. Thanks for having me on here. I'm a PT, run coach, and excited to be here.
I'm Winnie Lizardo. So doctor of physical therapy, also like Leah, and run coach. I've been loving this Need Nah series. I think it's really important just to like cut through a lot of the crap that's out there. So I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. And Leah and Winnie are both on team, I almost said running explain, team Train Smart, Run Strong. And we've had Dr. Vicky on the podcast. So
our sister podcast that's taking a break and coming back hopefully soon.
Right. Vicky's been on the podcast as a guest. So
yes, that's true.
We're coming full circle with the best in the game. So we've introduced ourselves. Those are very brief introductions. Unlike the bios that y'all sent us next. You're not alone in that.
Copy and paste.
You're not alone in that. You're not alone. Now you have a character limit, so you know. And we're gonna dive right into the topic. So the way that this will work, for our listeners, you are familiar. We're gonna give it a need or a nah, and there's room for nuance. So some of our answers will be it depends, and that's the beauty of having two experts like Leah and Winnie on. So we're just going to alternate, unless y'all want to take one over first. You can feel free to throw an elbow at me and be like, no, Leah, you're not going first this time. I want to go in on whatever we're talking about. All right. So we will start with Winnie, and we're going to talk about, first, need or nah recovery tools, such as massage, compression boots, the Theragun, etc., in a physical therapy setting or not. Is it a need or a nah?
Definitely a nah.
Hand. Nah.
So we got, in case you are not watching, we have 4 nahs for if you need it or you nah it. Tell us why.
Yeah, this is definitely something that is just extra. Most of the time, these things are marketed to the population and not necessarily to healthcare professionals or fitness professionals, where I would have patients that are like, oh, like I saw this cool new thing. Do you do it? Can you try it? A ton of them have absolutely no research behind it. Now that being said, some of them do feel good. And it's not to say that like they can't be done. There's usually no negative effects. I say usually because I think people always use these things incorrectly. So they're not going to be detrimental, but they provide little to no benefit in the long term. And I'm not in the short term, the short term could be like literally in an hour or two of like feeling good, feeling better, maybe 24 hours, but they're not causing any change.
Are you saying I can't just overtrain all the time and then put my Normatec boots on and it will fix everything and bring me back to a normal training load?
I think what this is, you have to be wearing it for 2.5 times longer workout for it to be beneficial. So no, it's not going to undo the damage you did from your workout.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
And no, I mean, I think it just goes right with what he said. I mean, it's one of those things. Do you need it? No. Can you use it? Yes, you can, but you're going to get so much more out of looking at a holistic approach and treating the injury itself and what's causing it, not trying to mask what you're feeling, and that's really what PT comes down to is let's treat why it's happening, let's not treat what is happening. And I think people forget that so often.
I think these tools were like, sorry, Amanda, I saw you were going to talk, but I talk a lot. I think these tools were like, they've been good at marketing though, because like, I feel like a lot of times people will just be like, oh, I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to put my Normatec boots on. I'm going to use this massage gun, or I'm going to, get rid of all these problems with any of these various like recovery tools. Instead of seeing a physical therapist, oh well, my Normatec boots can solve my Achilles tendonitis. It just massages it for me. Like it's just like you've seen a lot to where people always have one of these things, and it's like their golden ticket to staying healthy. But there, like you said, there's really no science. It's just magic.
Yeah, and I mean, like when it comes to the massage guns and things like that, I mean, the amount of layers that you have to tissue that you have to go through to get to like the muscle it's crazy. You can't use that to get to what you're trying to target. And even if you could, it's not going to magically heal what's going on. I think people forget that so often.
And Nick, you're absolutely right about the marketing for it. Like, I'm just trying to look up the retail cost of like the newest Theragun, and these are like $700-800 at this point. So it's like to say like they first came out and it was like maybe 150, 100, 150, and then they're like, and this is the newer one, and now we have different attachment heads, and now we have different patterns of vibration, and it's like, but none of it is still working. Yet we've gone.
Now it uses an airplane engine.
Yeah, and it really has gotten out of control. Where people think, they want to spend their money on the best and the most expensive, and if it's expensive, that means it's good, and if it's good, that means it's going to help you, and if it's going to help you, that means you're obviously going to become an Olympian.
Oh, that's the equation. I think that you made me think about something, Winnie. I am somebody who personally has, I purchased it. I did purchase it when it was around the $100 to $150 range, the Theragun. And I also put compression boots on our wedding registry. So we have those as well. Very, very important for me to note that I've invested more in physical therapy and coaching and nutrition than I have in those small, and I haven't used the compression boots in a year. My husband uses them after he plays basketball because he's a man. That's why. And I like to, sometimes I'll use the Theragun, but I've noticed when I don't use it, nothing really different happens to me. What I do notice is when I'm not doing my physical therapy exercises, I do feel the difference. That's because I am loading my body appropriately in the exercise that's going to support my body, like Leah and Winnie were saying. So those exercises I need to do until I die. Whereas the compression boots and the Theragun are not a need; they are a nice to have.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but even with my opinion, like I do have one. It was gifted to me, and I bust it out after my long runs, but because I'm like watching trash TV, and I, just like I have it, so why not? But it's not like if I'm traveling, I'm like I have to have this tool to make sure I recover well, and it's not a priority at all.
Here. That's great. All right, so our next topic, let's talk about cold therapy and icing. Is this a need or a nah?
Yeah, so I could start with this one.
We got to put your sign up first. There's rules.
Oh my goodness. When he doesn't follow the rules. Oh, we got 4. We got 4 nahs, and Winnie's gonna kick us off.
Sorry, I jumped the gun there. It's just where the passion's coming out. Yeah, so we really moved away from needing to ice everything. The initial rest, ice, compression, elevation was like the gold standard for an acute injury, right? So nothing that happened over time. This is, you fell, you sprained your ankle. What do? You rice. But and then people kind of take it to the next step. Am I icing an area? No, I'm going to do a cold plunge, and I'm going to do my whole body, and I'm going to decrease inflammation in my brain, and that is going to help my muscles contract better in my workout tomorrow. Which is like, I'm not going to say the extremes. I think we always go into the extremes of trends, and not saying that ice doesn't have its place for pain management, but you don't need to like dry freeze an area to make it feel better. There is a positive response in having inflammation. It means that healing qualities are coming to that area if it is injured. And sometimes if you ice too much, you can actually halt that healing process of happening, or you could slow it down. So it doesn't need to be, like once upon a time, every patient walked into a PT clinic, they started off with heat, they did their therapy, they ended with ice, no matter what, whether it was a chronic, acute, a surgery, post-op or not, everyone was doing the same thing. And it's just like not necessary.
I mean, I second that completely. I think, like you said, it can really, it's just kind of like a blanket thing that people used to use. Like, let's do this first, do some exercises, calm it down. But, that's just not how it works. And it really can delay the healing. And like we talked about with the massage guns, it's just gotten out of hand. And it like lets everybody buy a cold plunge and put it in their house and show you that I'm cold plunging to say how cool I am. Literally, how cool I am.
The spicy take. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like what you always hear is someone has some sort of injury. The answer is always immediately. This is what I hear from runners. I'm gonna go ice it. Like my Achilles hurts. I have a stress fracture. My knee hurts. Ice. Right? Like it's just it seems like that was beaten into us so long that the immediate response for almost everyone is immediately go ice something, rest it, elevate it, and that'll get it fixed. And I think people get surprised then when the icing doesn't fix it all. I iced it, and why is my injury still an injury? Yeah, so I feel like we joked about cold plunges, but they have taken over, and like it's literally like just wake up and just cold plunge. And this is like back in my days when I was in college in 2000. Like we had little garbage cans that we'd fill up with ice, and this is 2000 when we've learned a lot in 24 years about whether I need to jump in a garbage can filled with ice and after a workout to recover and be ready for the next day. I don't think I would ever do that again.
Yeah, I've never done that. I'm not interested in being cold.
Oh, that sounds like a fun thing we're gonna do when we hang out next.
I don't think so. I do think that I'm not one to enjoy the cold, so I'm not going to immerse my body in it. But I will say that, and we're looking forward to having her on the podcast. Dr. Stacey Sims actually shared some research around specifically women cold plunging and how it's like almost not beneficial to us at all. So we'll hear more from her. I have it on our list of things to talk about. So you've heard it here first from the physical therapist, and you will continue to hear it. RICE also, that acronym, the new acronym is, I believe, peace and love, which is special in and of itself. Y'all can Google that on your own. But that is the acronym. And I think that the best place to start if you suspect you have an injury is to hire a physical therapist and take it from there. Okay. We got two on who'd be happy to support you. That would be wise. And that might be the overarching message for this entire episode. Speaking of not going on Instagram and healing your own injury, let's talk about Nick just did a silent laugh if you were watching, and he knows why. So we have next up, need or nap. This one might be brief. Saran wrap, wrapping your foot in saran wrap, but first putting is it pronounced Voltaren on it? Reminds me Voltaren on it. Reminds me of Voldemort. Is this a need or a
I
knack?
can't say his name.
Can I get it closer to the screen?
Physical therapist choice. Leah, do you want to start with why we don't take
Yeah.
advice like this?
I mean, the Saran wrap really just blows my mind. I don't even have maybe just to like contain the liquid that you're putting. I don't know. But it goes back to what I said about using the massage guns to get to the tissue that you need to get to. It can't do that. It's just not possible. And again, it's all about the quick fixes. People just get an injury and they think, I need to fix it right now, otherwise I can't go on. And that's just not how injuries work. It took a while for you to get injured, so it's going to take a while for us to figure out why you got injured. And let's go to the drawing board. Let's not stick some lotion on it and say, hey, it's better.
Suffocate it with Saran.
Just I don't even know where that started. I would really like to know who thought, let me Saran wrap this and see if it feels better. I would like to know.
If you were the one, please write us an email at between two coaches. That's twocoaches@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You will not remain anonymous.
Yeah.
No.
So it started like, I mean, I don't know how long it started trending on the internet early last year, and it still is out there and still something people talk about. And it's really around the heel, the Achilles tendon area, and like quick fixing that. And so, to your point, Achilles injuries are usually related around load management, or you can just throw that away and just do some ridiculous idea, and then you can keep the load going because it obviously fixed the underlying problem and isn't going to come back at all because this magic theory that has no science behind it and wasn't promoted by a doctor. But here it is running rampant through the community, and as the quick fix for this injury.
I love that, literally running rampant through the community.
See that?
I think it amazes me how something topical, like how people can believe that anything topical is going to provide these healing qualities for like just the physics and the biomechanics of the human body, like of how complex these movements are through joints when you have your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, your bones, like how all of these structures work together. But someone's really going to believe that like the skincare routine for their injury is going to be the thing that fixes them. Now, if someone's doing the work, if they're doing the loading, if they're doing the workouts, and they're just throwing it on at night, and they come and tell me the next day, hey, the Voltaren, the Saran wrap worked, and that's really what they believe, I'm just gonna take it as a win, and we're not gonna fight about it as long as you're doing the things that are beneficial. But yeah, I mean, I think there's like the prescription creams, the over-the-counter joint creams. It's just, I'm like, I tell everyone, don't waste your money. But if you want to, go for it. Just have no expectations.
And Achilles tendonitis is an annoying injury, right? So I get it. Like you have this thing, and like you go out for a run, it comes back, and like you don't know why, and you think you're healed, and you're walking around fine, and it's back, and it's just like so obnoxiously annoying. So I get why someone comes out with this magic drug pill, your magic beans, and they hand them to you, and you're like, oh, this will solve my problem. I can run my race in a week or 2 weeks or a month. Like, but you're just kicking the can down the curb. And everyone who you see did this and talked about its quick success will have a story if they've done nothing at all to fix this. Like you said, Winnie, like if they're just ignoring it, but only using this quick fix with topical cream and saran wrap, and they will catch up with them at some point. If they're actually doing the work and this is like the magic on top that they think is helping, sure. But like it's the key, like, if they're doing no work, it's not going to fix it. It's going to catch up with you and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing about the problem, I love social media, but there is some problems with social media. And the biggest thing is, especially now, we see a runner gets injured and then they fix their injury and they know nothing about fixing the injury, but they tell everybody what they did to fix their injury. And we immediately think, let me do exactly what they did because that person is fast and they figured out how to fix it. So voila, let me do this just like they did and I'll be fixed. And that's just not how it works.
And then
at
they
all.
disappear. They get hurt eventually in the future and they disappear and they don't post for a year. But the damage is done because the community has followed in them and no one notices that this runner now is through a catastrophic injury, disordered relationship with running, doesn't want to run anymore, can't be healthy. And we're ignoring that part because we've all jumped in because this helped that one runner the one time they wanted to run one race.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
worse.
I mean, it goes like,
Sorry, Leah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I said,
No.
or worse, they like promote a product, even though they are doing
Yeah.
all the basic, they are going to physical therapy and they have like a medical staff taking care of them, but they're like, click on my bio for a link of this like cream.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to that, like, the 3 best exercises that you can find. That's just not, it's not how it works. And I always tell people, if you needed to go to the doctor, you wouldn't just say, hey, give me whatever you gave that person because I want to do that exact same thing. You go in, you learn about the person, you learn about the patient, you learn their history and things like that before you give something medication. It's the same way. And it's the same thing for exercises. You don't just throw something at somebody and expect it to work for every person. You have to know that background.
Yes. Like anything involving your body, it is not one size fits all. So
No.
or even most, you're just we're incredibly complex. I loved that answer. We're gonna go to balance training, Bosu balls. Is this the half foam rollers, right? Is this a need or a nah?
I mean, I'm gonna go.
Leah, commit
Yeah,
to
I
something.
I'm
Winnie,
gonna say.
do you,
I have to say a nah. I do have to say
okay,
that.
so Nick and I are riding the it depends, the need nah train maybe. But I actually think Winnie's got it. Winnie and Leah said nah. So I'm gonna go with the experts. Winnie, what say you on this?
So balance training is essential. Period. You
Right.
have to train, you have to work on your single limb strength, your single limb stability, taking your body from the air to the ground in a stable, load bearing way. However, I have seen people stand on a yoga ball and juggle. I have seen people try to stand on top of a yoga ball and walk it from one side of the room to the next. Now, a lot of these were like pandemic physical challenges where, it's just like it goes too far in way past function.
Right.
I think you can do a lot of balance training where it comes with like body rotation. You can add a weight, change your center of gravity, have movements of your other leg, movements of your arm, reaching for weights. You can challenge your balance and your stability without needing air underneath you. I think that is like the biggest thing that I kind of have an issue with the Bosu. Some things that are like a slant board or uneven surface, especially if you're like a trail runner and you need to adapt your ankles to like, if you like step on a rock and you're a little bit this way, like you need that ankle stability. However, I think some of the tools that someone is balancing on are not actually going to carry over into the activity that they want to do.
Yeah, I exactly the same thing. Just is that, if we're talking about strictly running, is that going to translate to running? No. If you want to, test your system, like I said, single leg, let's test it in all the planes. Let's get that rotation because we know running actually has a lot of rotation to it. Yeah, those things aren't necessary. Those kind of like unstable surfaces, things like that, they can be used more like in the neuro field when you truly don't know where your center of gravity is and things like that. That's a little bit different. But when we're talking just running, it's not going to be practical or translate over to the actual running form. So I would have to go in that.
I personally, that was my it depends answer, I should say, was more so like yes to balance training. Everything Winnie said, yes to balance training, but in an effort for you to look like a badass, you looking like a dumbass. Okay, get off the Bosu ball. It's not necessary. It's It's special. It's special.
That's why you stack Bosu balls.
Oh,
So you can get more balance.
pro tip.
I am curious though, for you guys, Nick and Amanda, like what have you used, like have you yourself in your training or in your prescription of exercises had someone use a lot of different surfaces to balance on?
No,
No, I mean like not
not
I
even
think of,
not
like-
as a personal trainer either. We got to get you good being on one foot on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Love it.
Yeah, I meant like different ground surfaces.
Oh yes. Oh, so you're thinking yeah.
Trails or like or
Yeah.
like
Yeah, things like that. That sounds right. Let's move it to our next topic. Our next topic is in-person physical therapy sessions. Is this a need or a nah?
Go with the
Okay, all right. So we got 3 nahs, but Leah is like she's not sure. She's kind of holding that. And then Winnie has an it depends. So Leah, why don't you start us off?
I mean, I should say it if I had a it depends sign, that's what I would put up there. So is it absolutely necessary? No. But if you have something like post-op, it is. I would say that it probably is necessary. But if we're just talking running, you have a little flare up, it probably isn't absolutely necessary. But I understand how some people want that hands-on approach, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we were talking about this earlier. COVID has shown us that we don't absolutely have to be seen in person. If you are able to be heard by the PT that you are seeing virtually, and they're able to understand what you have, how you move, things like that, I think it's absolutely okay to not be seen in person. But again, I'm going to go back to that 3 best exercises. That shouldn't be considered if I don't need in person, because I can just get these 3 best exercises, because that's not how it works. And you can tell that I don't like the 3 best exercises.
it's always clamshells too.
Yeah, clamshells.
Always.
Clamshells and leg swings before you run. That's all you need. But it depends. But I think if you're just looking to get some guidance, get some help, and I think one of the biggest things with PT is going into it knowing that we can't magically fix you. There's work that has to be done. And does that work have to be done in person? No. So there you go. That's my answer.
Yeah, and I would just say like most people that find themselves in a physical therapy clinic need a ton of education. They need a personalized plan that's going to pay particular attention to their own specific deficits. And that does take assessment evaluation, but it doesn't necessarily need to be hands-on. Now, as Leah's saying, like post-op, I think anything that there is a restriction of movement. So, some surgeries you cannot push past a certain range of motion until a certain period of time. So those require like a lot more hands-on guidance. If you have a ton of swelling, something like that does require more, I won't just say more hands-on approach, but more supervision. I would say just more supervision. But I think if I'm thinking about my full 5-day-a-week caseload right now, 15% absolutely need me in front of them, showing them what to do, correcting them on how to do things in a way that I would not be able to do on camera or just like through audio and watching how they move. But there are some people that are dedicated athletes who have something that's annoying, and I am part of their maintenance program, so like they come in and I might do some joint mobility, get my hands on them, loosen up soft tissue. But I know they are doing everything they need to do as far as their exercise, and they're doing it well with either outside of the clinic, at the gym, with the team, or something. They're doing what they need to do, and I'm just like a little bit of a hands-on reset to manage something. You'll see this a lot in athletes that just trying to like get through a season, right? They know that they're not necessarily addressing the issue, but we are helping them get to the end of competition where they could like deal with it better. And I do try to educate a lot of my patients. They come in and I'm like, listen, you'll have my hands and that like dedicated time for a few weeks. And then after that, the meat and the potatoes of this is going to be how you are changing how you exercise, how you train, and by the time you get that, you should not need me anymore. It doesn't need to be something that is ongoing 2 times a week for the rest of your life. You get to the point where you are totally independent and can do it. So I think a lot of people just are like, either I'm going to be fixed after 6 weeks because you fixed me, or they always need, oh, I can't do my exercise today, but I'll take the massage.
Yeah. I think like, what I noticed for me and what I've seen is like, when physical therapy used to be your community was like all you had access to, right? And there wasn't much outside of that unless you wanted to go drive hundreds of miles to go see a PT you wanted to see. But like this virtual world sort of opened that up. But like I caveat by saying like it's much, you have to have a different skill set to be a physical therapist who does it via like virtually versus like in person. And so it's important as an athlete to make sure you're getting that from the physical therapist virtually, right? Like the ability for them to listen and help work through your issues and help give up the plan with you virtually versus like in person where they can observe everything and like be hands on. So I like that there's access now for more physical therapists for everyone, but you just make sure like the one feels right for you, just like anything, like right coach, right therapist, whatever.
Say something that has not been brought up, but I'm going to use myself and my runners as experience in this. Just because you have a desire to see a physical therapist in person doesn't mean the physical therapist you see in person is going to be a good physical therapist. Like any other professional in health, fitness, nutrition, wellness, I am an example of that. I had an injury. Now it's about a year and a half ago. I went to a very popular in-person physical therapy center in New York City, running specific. And I have to tell you that the individual who was working with me I know a lot about running. I'm not a physical therapist, but I knew enough to know that she was not going to be able to help me based on my activity and also as a full-time group fitness instructor. So that was an in-person experience, right? And I knew that. That's actually when I hired Vicky. Because there was, even though she did not see me in person, she understood the load on my body outside of running. She was able to assess my gait virtually. And I also am still doing the exercises that she prescribed to me today. And it was unnecessary for me to be with her in person in order for that to happen. So I do also want folks to recognize that, well, I prefer somebody in person. That's fine. But just like you would assess anyone you're hiring, just because the physical therapist is in person does not mean they are going to be the right physical therapist for you. And I just wanted to share that as an example.
Yeah, I think those are two really good points because it is a different skill set. Like you're absolutely right, Nick. Like to assess someone through camera is very different. And also like for some people, they have a really hard time describing their pain. They have a really hard time, like there's so many times where I'm like, okay, does it, like what activities does it bother? And they just like take my hand and they're like, here is where it hurts, and or if I'm correcting an exercise and they just like can't get it. Yeah, I put my hands on them. This is the motion. This is the movement. That would be really hard if it was just like a back and forth all through camera. So the communication piece is definitely tougher. I think it's a skill set that more people are bringing to the table with just more online opportunities now. But shopping around for a therapist, a coach, a doctor, your mental therapist, like the shopping around should be a given, almost going into it being like, yes, this is not going to be my only option. It never is. And to find that, and I might work with someone that does like me, and I'm like, I actually don't think I could help you in this format, and that's okay. It just, it has to work for both parties.
Yeah, when I describe my pain, sometimes it's like when I'm talking to my mechanic and I'm like, my car does this when I hit the, gas pedal. It's what is wrong with it? So
It's good. Very good. Let's move it along to the next topic. All right. So, as physical therapists, when a client comes to you, insight on their life stress outside of fitness or whatever activity they're engaging in that they need your support in. Is it necessary? Is it a need or a knack to have that insight? Four needs. Four needs.
Four needs.
When do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm glad I get to hold this one up because I feel like I've been very negative this evening. But it is absolutely a need. I think people often underestimate the physiological effects of stress, and that's just stress, period. So whether it is physical stress on your body of doing an activity that you were not used to doing, whether it's emotional stress, whether there's a difficult situation in your life. Now, I've had people wanting to go really in depth, and we don't always need all of it. But it is very important to know if there's if you're planning a long run or a tough training, but you also are dealing with something, a death in your family, or you're going to have to travel for a funeral that is now going to be physically and emotionally taxing. Like, I need to know that. I need to know what stress outside of your injury is occurring, because it is going to change my expectation of what you can do, and should change yours also. And I have had sessions where I've planned it to be progressive, and we're doing new things, and we're going in, and they come in and the eyes are blotchy, and or they're getting sick or something is going on. I'm just like, what is happening? And that 5 minutes of like unleashing or venting, and I'm like, okay, maybe we need like a little reset. Maybe we need to calm your nervous system down. Maybe we need more mobility today, and we're not going to go up 10 pounds like I initially thought that we were going to do. So I absolutely think it's a need.
Yeah, 100% a need. I mean, just from me working with runners just strictly as a run coach, I tell them the more you can involve me in what's going on, the better it's going to be. And like if somebody gets a flare up and we look back at their log that they've kept of their runs, and I'll say, you have told me multiple times that your life is crazy right now. And every time that happens, something kind of pops up, and we usually try to catch that, or we'll say, hey, let's not push this right now, because like Winnie said, stress is stress. So running is 100% a stress, whether or not it's a good stress or a bad stress. It depends on the day. But if your stress level is here and you add running on top of it, your body is going to say, no, I do not want this. And so it's so important to keep those life factors in mind when you're doing any form of running or you're rehabbing injury or anything like that. It plays such a role. And you can get into the effects of stress and delayed healing, and how much sleep have you gotten, and how much have you been eating, have you been hydrating enough. All of those things play such a huge factor, and you have to know those things going into you have to treat the entire person, not just the injury or just the running. So yes, that's a need. Big
yeah,
need.
you're coaching a human being, humanistic type coaching, whether it's coaching or physical therapy or whatever. There's a human being on the other end who has a very complex situation going on in their life, in their mind, and everything, that's all adding different levels of stress. So without the full picture, you can never really help someone recover, reach their goals, or be their friend. Heck, like, it's all a complicated situation and involves knowledge and support and taking that into consideration when helping.
Well said. Let's move it along to do we need to take total rest when we are injured? Is this a need or is it a nah? All right, we got some nahs and we have an it depends. So let's start with Leah. It depends.
Yeah. So I guess if we need to define total rest.
Mm.
If we're talking about, I keep going back to just running, but if we're talking about running specifically, if you have some sort of bone stress injury, then you can't run. Okay. That's when it's you need to take a rest day. But that doesn't mean that you should be doing nothing. That means you need to stop running. This is if you have a bone injury, you need to stop running, but you need to be doing other things to prepare yourself for when you do get back to running. If we have something that's just a kind of soft tissue issue, that rhymed, you don't necessarily have to stop running. That's when it depends. So I'm gonna say it's a NAD in that you don't always have to stop running, but there's many, many other things that you can be doing besides running to keep you going forward.
You probably have a
That's,
run streak and you don't want to stop it, so
yeah,
you just have
no,
to keep going.
if we do need her now and run streak, that's a big old nah for
Yeah,
me.
that's a NAF for this entire podcast and our
Yeah.
entire lives. That's a huge, huge NAF for us.
I think it's just, I think if you're approaching the conversation of total rest, you're clearly like exhausted, and sleep should definitely be prioritized. Um, I don't think total rest is needed because I think some movement actually will help you sleep, so especially if it's like kind of like nervous, anxious, insomnia kind of energy, not just a time restriction of sleep. If you like can't get good quality sleep, I do think some movement is going to help tie into that rest. But, like Leah's saying, it can't be an activity that's going to stress the thing that you're resting. And also knowing the personality of your athletes or of your patients. Like there are some athletes who I'll be like, you need to be on bed rest. I will literally say, put yourself on bed rest for the weekend, knowing fully well that's never going to happen and they have a million responsibilities and they're going to be running. But just to emphasize the importance of doing less than what you normally do, versus, someone that I'm going to say, okay, like, this hurts, so take it easy. And they're like, oh, so I didn't move for 4 days. Like, I didn't leave my home. And I'm like, well, that's not what you need. So I think it's very important of like, what exactly, like defining rest and making sure that, your athlete, client, patient understands what demands are going to be safe to put on the body.
I think that's what runners struggle with on their own is it's all or nothing, right? So their training log is 50 miles a week and they have some sort of soft tissue issue and it does rhyme, and they are trying to figure out what to do. So they're like, oh, I'll just take tomorrow off. It doesn't feel okay. Okay, then I'll take Thursday off. It still doesn't feel okay. Like, oh, why don't you run, like, do some walk runs? Why don't you do a 15-minute run? Why don't you figure out what the load is? Oh, no, that won't give me any benefit. It's just, I'm just going to keep resting until pain goes away. Like, so that's like, then they run into a problem and then they finally maybe go see someone after a week. And then the person's like, all right, well, let's, do these exercises. Let's work our way back. And now they're like all upset and they're rushed because they took a week off of no running, immediately because their instincts was, okay, well, I just have to stop. I can't run even a step because that'll heal this. So I think that's where runners sometimes get it wrong, is they're so worried that they're going to turn some soft tissue into injury into like this long lasting forever thing.
Yeah. And it's not just runners. It's as you guys know, I teach a lot of group fitness classes throughout the week, and I have several students who will double up on classes. Some are doing many hours of exercise a day, and total rest. I think some of these, and we spoke about this with Dr. Stephanie on our embodied psychotherapist. Some folks will benefit from not having structured exercise for a bit because there's a mental health component at play. And they're exercising through injury when it's actually, that's not helpful. It's harmful. And their fear of not exercising is what's pushing them to continue to exercise. So that's a different thing that we've spoken about. But fitness enthusiasts in general, I think it's an important point. Which leads me to the next topic. Do we need rest days? Is this a need or a nah? 4 needs, for professionals saying that you need to take rest days, Winnie, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, the body just needs a reset. And it's important to, and like full rest. Like this is when it is like full stop rest. Like not you're not running today, so you go on a 20-mile bike ride. This is full rest to allow the whole point of getting bigger, faster, stronger is breakdown of tissues so that they can recover and then be better. So if you never have that recovery period, you're just breaking down, which will eventually lead to injury.
Yeah. I always say you can't build forever. I mean, there is a cap on what you can build. So you have to, allow the body to recover, because recovery is where the adaptations occur and where you actually get those gains. And so rest is part of the work. Like it absolutely is part of the work, and it has to be there, or the work will have to come down. So I always say, if you want to do more, let's rest more. Give yourself those rest days, I should say, because a lot of people, they want to do more, but they're already doing too much. I say, if you want more, let's rest more, and then we can add more. Rest is where those changes occur, and I think people are afraid of that, and they don't believe it, but it's very true.
Yep. Stress plus rest equals growth, right? That's the formula, right? If without rest, then it'd be stress plus nothing doesn't equal growth, right? It doesn't work because you're
Injury.
missing one of the components. So I think people struggle the most with this is after a race, right? If the race goes well, then it's okay, I have to keep building because I don't want to lose this momentum, so I'll just rest a little bit. If it goes poorly, then it's like I got to keep going because I need to hit this thing. So like a lot of times it's just like struggling with recovering properly afterwards.
I think
Yeah,
sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's just it's an interesting thing because I think total rest and rest days often go with like someone maybe teetering on that like unhealthy relationship with exercise. And it's a very interesting thing to think of as like an addictive quality because it is good for your health. But there are there's just a lot of instances where that relationship of needing to always be doing that one thing or a bunch of different things, it's almost like it could just be so detrimental, because like Leah said, you can't just build, and so then you hit a point where you can't, where you get injured, and then you're like devastated, and that's even harder to come back through physically and mentally. That just creates more hurdles and more barriers to your performance. Whereas if you just take that time early on, what's the saying? Like if you don't provide time for your body to rest, your body will decide for you when to rest, something like that. But the breakdown will eventually happen.
Yes, that's actually what I was going to talk about, exercise addiction. So you hit it already, Winnie. It's exercise addiction, dependence on exercise. It's addiction by definition is unhealthy. It is not a good addiction. So we got to do less so we can do more.
Yeah, and I think going along with that addiction, if you can't take a rest day, you need to take a step back and look at your relationship with what you're doing. If you can't do it, then that's telling you something right there, for sure.
To that point, I think it's doubly important to maybe take some of the coins out of the compression boot piggy bank. And if you know yourself and you know that that's a quality you have, investing honestly in a trainer, a run coach, a physical therapist who's going to help you navigate something that maybe you have a hard time navigating yourself. That would be where I'd put those coins. Yeah. So that's my pitch for professionals.
Absolutely.
Coach Nick.
I agree.
I
don't have anything.
You don't have to agree. I was actually, we're at the point now in the pod where we got to ask our guests
the secret rapid fire questions that they don't know about.
Oh my god, Winnie just sighed. She's like
God,
unwell over it.
These are super secret. No one knows them.
Rapid
unless you've
fire
listened
makes me
before.
nervous. Like, how rapid? Can I think about it?
You have a less than 1 second to answer.
You can. There are thoughts allowed. Leah looks
right, you can think-
genuinely
yeah.
concerned.
Yeah, she was
Is
wrapped up.
this PT related or is this just like random?
She
thing?
was gonna hang up. I looked like she was just gonna be, my connection's broken.
Oh man, is
No,
this
they're
PT?
not PT related. No,
Wait,
they're
wait,
surprise
you
questions.
can ask questions to the question.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What's she doing?
This isn't 20 questions.
Who's here? Who's the host here? All right.
This is our show. It's off the rails, and we'll keep it that
Excuse me.
way.
All right. So are we going at the same time or is it just like a free for all?
No, you each can answer on your own. This is a question. You'll find out. Just kidding. No, I'll ask a question, and then you guys can take time to answer it, and then we will enjoy your answers, and then it'll be great.
A lot of explaining
All right.
for these two. Wow.
Very concerned. First question. The first. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? See, nice and easy.
I mean, that's a hard one. Like, is this just related to just life? I mean,
Whatever you want to relate
It
it
could
to.
be life. It could be running. It could be about your profession.
It could be because the best advice your running coach gave you.
Oh wow, a little
Anything.
particular there.
there's just too many. There's just too many to say. Then There's just too many.
Dis-
Can I say the worst advice anybody's ever given me?
That's actually not the question.
Ooh.
So
she
Do we
flipped
allow-
it.
do we allow additions? I don't think so.
She
No.
can
This
say
isn't
the-
really a democracy.
I mean, if Leah says the worst advice, then she can. I guess she can reverse it. And that would
Oh,
make
like
the best.
Uno. If you have an
Mhm.
Uno card, you can then change the question. Do you have one?
Yeah, I have one. I have one in the kitchen.
You neither of you have received any good advice in your life.
Okay, I will say one athletically related and one life related.
Okay, what is that?
So when I was in college, I was working at a summer camp, a soccer leadership academy, the Julie Foudy Sports Leadership Academy. Changed my whole worldview. Love Julie Foudy, love her, love the work that I did, and I was like a little camper in my college summers. But we were doing one of those like Myers-Briggs personality tests, you know, and you like answering how you'd react in some situations. So, you know, I'm just like, well, this is like, I don't know, you can kind of rig these, right? Like you could say how you want to respond to a situation, but like your close friends are going to be like, that's not what you do. Like, that's not at all what you do. And so I was kind of going back, like, is this what we do, what we want to do? And my high school English teacher / softball coach was like, you know, you become who you really are once you bridge the gap of like how you want to be and what you actually do in your behavior. Like that's who you are. Like if you can say, this is what I would hope to do in this situation, and look at what you historically have done, look at the data. And when you bridge those two things together, like that's you becoming you, and like you have to work at it. So I always thought, and like, you know, we were working with children, right? So we're working with middle and high schoolers. And so you saw it, like they'd act one way around their team, one way around their friends, one way around their families. So it was like all these little different versions of themselves. And it's like, once those versions have less variables, then like you are who you are. And you need to bridge those. Like if you're behaving differently in a group of people than you with your family who you've grown up with, why are you behaving that way? And like bridge those together. And that is who you truly are. So it's Carolyn Conforti. She's the best. She's like, so I like text her
love
all the
it.
time. I'm like, so now I'm like, my kid is doing this. What should I do?
Love it.
I don't even know.
That might be the best advice, right? Every time you check in with her and she gives you a piece of wisdom. That was so good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Leah, make sure you top that.
I mean, mine's a little more two.
Oh, good.
If we're going like running
You went
related,
from 0 to 2.
I mean, I know some people know like that I've been an athlete for a long time, so I have some history there as far as things that happened to me. And I think something that we can all take away, you could say this in any context, but you aren't your sport. So you aren't running, you aren't any of those things. You are who you are, and you do your sport. You aren't your sport, and That's a huge one for me because I think a lot of runners too get caught up in I'm going to be a better person if I'm a better runner or if I'm a better athlete or if I'm more fit. That's not who you are. It's what you do. And my other one is going to be hard isn't bad. Hard is just hard. So I used to be afraid of things that were hard. I felt like it was a fear. And yeah, it's
But it's okay. The
Yeah.
allow the doorbell to ring. It really brings
okay.
Yeah, we
Leah's
love it.
life
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the experience.
There's a little chaos at my house. But yeah, I'm gonna end on that one.
Leah's a
Love it.
human. Newsflash: Leah's a human. She has a doorbell, and she seemingly has a dog. So here we
We
go.
keep it
I
real
have a
out
dog
here.
and I have a child, so I may
Oh
have
my
to
God.
wrap this up
It's
quickly.
already too many things for me. Already too many things. All right, that's good. Those are good things.
So we'll keep the rapid fire going, even though one of our guests may have run away. Winnie, what's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
I think in this later PT, as I make more PT running friends and colleagues, I was a high school teacher before I went to PT school. And I was a high school coach and I loved it. I miss it all the time. I thankfully have the opportunity to teach a little bit at my alma mater at the NYU PT department, but it's not the same as being with high schoolers. And yeah, I really loved it. It was kind of like a random opportunity that came after my college graduation. I knew I wanted to go to grad school, but just kind of wasn't ready to make the jump. And I was like, I'll do this for 1 year and just like take a break from the academics, on the other side of academics. And then I ended up there for 3 years.
What subject did you
Awesome.
teach?
Biology and chemistry.
This one.
Love the answer.
She's a smart one. This one.
She is. Leah, your answer to the question you didn't hear? Just kidding. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Man,
That I'm
I
a
don't
human.
know.
No.
I know. I just sometimes my house is chaos, and I don't feel like I'm a chaotic person, but I guess I am. Maybe that's it.
You handle it with grace.
Thank you. Thank you. I really, honestly, I don't know. I think I have shared my story more, but really nobody knew that I swam for 20 years of my life, and it was literally my entire life. I mean, not kidding. At 11 years old, I started doing 2-a-day practices. I would swim for 4 hours a day, and I continued that all the way till I was 21 years old. So huge part of my life that I didn't share. Now that everybody knows me people who follow me on social media know that I was a swimmer. But I guess that would be something that nobody knows about me.
Love it. That's perfect. You got the answer correct. That's what we had written down.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I was thinking more so along the lines of Leah is ready to she's manifesting moving to New York. So that would be
Oh, that one's too.
Yes,
Okay,
that
yeah,
needs to happen.
That's a good one. People don't know that I am just really obsessed with New York City. And
Yeah.
I just think I manifested this my entire life, that I just happened to work for Vicky, who is in New York City, and now I have met all of you that live in New
Well,
York City.
she's technically in New Jersey.
Well, she
New
was
York
in
City
New
people
York
don't
City.
like. They don't like to
Tell
call New
'em,
Jersey
Nick.
New York City.
Tell 'em.
Yeah, they're not.
Sorry. Do y'all have to forgive me? I don't know the.
We'll lose a lot of audience if you keep that up.
Okay, forgive me. I live in Arkansas, so
fun facts.
chaos in my home.
No, that's great. Last question, guys. Here we go. What's something you wish more people understood about the physical therapy industry?
Winnie, you want me to go or you got it?
If you got it, go ahead. I could use another second.
I mean, I think that you can't magically be fixed. I think you have to help yourself be fixed as well, would be my biggest thing. And sometimes PT isn't exactly the answer, and there's other things that need to happen. So we can't magically fix you would be what I want people to understand. We will help to fix you, but we can't magically fix you.
Yeah, and I think it's just gotten just so complex. Like the simple stuff works, and the simple stuff consistently works. Like, it doesn't always need to be a whole complicated experiment and like titration of the perfect combination of things. Like, if you do the simple stuff consistently, you will see benefits, and you might need to tweak some things with performance, but most people are not needing these tweaks for like that 0.2. Like, I feel like everyone thinks they need that like that small little edge that like sprinters need, when it's just we're trying to stay fit, we're trying to stay healthy, we're trying to keep our mobility and our activity for as long as possible. Like, I feel like for most people that's the goal. Now when it comes to like very specific sports training, yes, there are like more nuance, but I don't know, I just have so many people that are like coming in like, oh, I heard LeBron James does this, so can we try this? And I'm like, are we comparing yourself to one of the best athletes in the world? Like, do the simple stuff and do it consistently, and don't come at me with like, just the NBA and the NFL training programs. Like,
Daryl,
Yeah,
you're not LeBron, Daryl.
you're not.
you're not the second greatest basketball player of all time.
Jeez Louise.
Shots fired.
That's
That's
where
been
that like
Shots.
no, that was good. That's like where that statistic that I shared about 40% of Americans thinking that they could compete in the Olympics. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, where are you? Are you with us? Are you with us?
Well,
in the
listen,
group?
Australia might have just debunked that, and now there's a whole bunch of people that like now, well, I could have been a breakdancer.
I mean, if you happen to find yourself on the one train uptown and you're swinging from a subway pole, you actually are qualified to be in the Olympics. Right, Winnie? Yes.
So sorry, you actually did miss your opportunity.
If you were dancing in
Oh,
Union Square today at 2 p.m., next year, shoot your shot. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. Well, did we do it, Amanda?
We did it. We did it, and Leah and Winnie did it. So before we wrap up, can you both share with our listeners where they can find you and if you guys are taking clients?
Yeah, well, I think at first I just have to give Vicky a huge shout out at Train Smart Run Strong. Like, she brought Leah and I together and then introduced me to you, Amanda, and you, Nick. And I think like us being in that group running together was like one of my most fun running memories. And just like I felt just like welcomed into this like running world that like Vicky kind of pulled me in. So Vic, thank you so much. We go way back. We went to PT school together. So it's just like so fun that we are here like almost a decade later. My handle is Mama Moves _PT. I work with Vicky. You could go on her app for like some training videos. I tend to lean more towards doing fitness for new moms and people in that like peripartum area of training during pregnancy and getting back to running after having a baby. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old. So my recovery through both of those processes kind of led me into this new niche, this new passion. So I'm hoping to do more of that in the future. But yeah, follow me, follow Train Smart Run Strong, and we'll link up online.
Yeah, and I just have to say, Winnie is amazing. She knows so much about postpartum, and those kinds of things are so necessary, and don't be afraid to use that as a tool. So use Winnie. Vicky's amazing. Yes, we literally are here because of Vicky. So let's give a round to Vicky. But yes, you can find me on Instagram. It's leah.runs.d. Definitely have some spots open because my little boy has just started school. And so now I have some more time available. Yeah, I'm just thankful to be on a podcast and people don't want to hear about me talking about panic attacks. So this has been great. But yes, just thankful to be on here. You guys are great. Keep it up.
Well, thanks.
We know that, but the world needs what the world needs truly are more professionals like Leah and Winnie. Full stop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Full stop. And
Thank you.
and Winnie, you will be conned into running again with me shortly. And if Leah was here, she'd be conned too. So
Book the flight.
Hey, I just have to hit purchase, and I am coming to the New York City Marathon. Not running it, but
Oh, we're having a weekend.
let's have a weekend.
Reunion.
Oh my
Let's have a
God.
weekend.
Guys, that's news.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Doo-doo-doot, doo-doo-doot.
I also will not be running the New York City Marathon, which is the best way to be a part of the New York City Marathon. Is to
Mhm.
not run it
can't wait.
and to celebrate it. That's just my professional opinion. Are we done? We're done. We're done.
I think, and
Thank you,
thanks.
guys.
Well, thank you guys, because you guys really are bringing like such valuable information, like
Yeah.
not just with the guests, but just between the two
Oh.
coaches. There's a lot of bullshit out there, and you guys just cut through all of it, and you're both very authentic, and it's been so nice getting. I feel like I saw your accounts, that I met you, and was just like, yes, that is who they are. This isn't just some stupid facade of trying to build traction or get likes. You guys are just like doing the good work.
Great.
Nick, did we deserve this tonight?
I
Did
don't
we
know.
deserve
It
this
feels
tonight?
weird.
I know. I think we're gonna need them here every week.
Yeah.
But seriously, thank you both so much. And Bubba's already getting antsy. Bubba, you gotta be good until I wrap up the show. All right. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us,
you.
everyone, and thank you both, Leah and Winnie, for being here. I think we'll have to have you on again. I think we will. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Reach out to us at any time between two. That's CWOcoaches@gmail.com. Right, Bubba? Right. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.